Hey, all Scott here. If you're like me, you need coffee. Lots of it. And you probably prefer it tastes good, too. Well, let me tell you about Darren's Coffee Company at darrenscoffee.com. Darren Marion is a natural entrepreneur who decided to leave his corporate job and strike out on his own, making great coffee. And Darren's Coffee is now delivering right to your door. Darren gets his beans direct from farmers around the world. All specialty, premium grade with no filler. Hey, the man just wants everyone to have a chance to taste this great coffee. darrenscoffee.com. Use promo code Scott and you get free shipping. darrenscoffee.com. All right, guys, welcome back. I'm Scott Horton. It's my show, The Scott Horton Show. Next up is Dr. Yousaf Butt, nuclear physicist and senior advisor to the British American Security Information Council and director at the Cultural Intelligence Institute. Welcome back to the show. Yousaf, how are you doing?
Good to be back.
Good. Happy to have you here. Lots to talk about on the show today. Of course, we're in that interim period here where the UN Security Council, including the U.S. executive branch, has signed this deal with the Iranians, the final deal, but we're still waiting for Congress to try to kill it or not and see how successful they are with that. And they still have time, and so in the meantime, they're coming out with as much propaganda as they can to try to ruin the deal. And obviously the latest was the big one. Well, I don't know if it's the latest. Maybe there's another one since then, but the big one last week, anyway, centered around good old George John at the Associated Press with a story about a deal between the IAEA and the Iranians for the implementation of their inspection of the Parchin military facility that basically just gave the Iranians the store and let them go ahead and take all their own samples and, basically, as I think a Republican congressman put it, this is like asking Olympic athletes to provide all their own urine samples without, great example, I guess, for the intrusiveness. But anyway, so I'm getting to the point, Yousaf, and that is that I interviewed this guy, Tariq Ralph, from Atomic Reporters, former official at the IAEA, apparently at a pretty high level there. And he said that he thought that the document that these accusations were based on, which AP, after they were criticized, published the document, or at least a representation of the document, and he said it was so badly flawed that he thought you couldn't blame it on George John. He's not that lousy of a reporter. It must have been a bogus document in the first place. And so let's start with that and what you think of Tariq Ralph's argument there.
I think that argument may be fine. I think the document at hand could be a draft document, which I think Jan admits to. So I think we shouldn't read too much into, nitpick it too much. Also, the administration has not actually contradicted anything in the main gist of what was contained in the document. Mm-hmm. So my take on it is the gist of it is correct, that the Iranians will be leading the inspections at this Parchin site, which there's accusations from 10, 13 years ago that there might have been some nuclear weapons related research using conventional explosives. But my take is also that this is not a big deal because it's common for, in inspections that usually what will happen is there's two inspectors, one's called dirty and one's called clean. The dirty guy goes in and he's the one doing the actual sampling, taking this ultra clean cloth and swiping it across surfaces, and he hands it to the clean guy who's got the little baggie that they put it in, and then they send off these samples to various laboratories around the world. So it's common that the inspectors from the country will be the dirty inspector, will be the ones doing the actual sampling, and they'll hand it over to the official IAEA person who's got the clean title, and he's got the little baggie that they put it in. So it's my take on it is this is like a tempest in the teapot. It's not a big deal that Iranians are involved in sampling because there will be IAEA monitors there. That's my understanding, at least.
So in other words, whether or not it's a forgery, we're talking about taking one line out of context and implying that since the line doesn't continue to go on and describe the process whereby, yes, there will be a white Northern European guy standing there in a lab coat looking, then that must mean that there won't be, and therefore they're letting the Iranians inspect themselves.
Well, I think the story just got mangled because there was various versions of it online and various deletions. So I think what the brouhaha was about was it was initially being cast as there will be no IAEA inspectors with these people, and the Iranians will just go in and swipe whatever and just bring out the samples. That's not the case, as far as I know. What the latest reports show is there'll be Iranians doing the swiping, and there will be IAEA monitors closely monitoring them, which is unremarkable. That's just that's actually normal procedure.
Right.
So yeah, ideally, you'd like to have completely no Iranian involvement in it's just purely IAEA inspectors, but that already doesn't happen sometimes. So it's just not a big deal at all, even if these reports are true.
Yeah, I think that was Ralph's point was, the document saying that the Iranians are going to do it, or maybe it could have been read to imply that there won't be an IAEA inspector there on site or something like that. That was why he said it must be a forgery, because it is absolutely inconceivable that any country would ever get a deal, especially Iran in this case, but that any country would ever get a deal where, okay, you guys go in there and get us a swipe and bring it out, and we'll be waiting out here for you in the parking lot or what. That's just not how business is done.
Right,
ever.
right. And I think what the issue is in this draft document, it just doesn't touch upon that. It just tells you about the Iranian side, and it doesn't tell you that there'll be IAEA monitors, which doesn't mean that there won't. It just means that it's not mentioned.
Right.
And that might be normal procedure in a draft, like when you're putting down a draft of something that's going to be finalized, you're putting down the minimum amount, but that doesn't mean other things won't be added in later. So the crucial thing being there will be IAEA monitors closely monitoring whatever happens, and it doesn't matter who the guy is who's actually doing the swiping, as long as you're looking over his shoulder, you're recording his movements, and everything's on video, or at least there's close monitoring of them live by IAEA official inspectors.
Mm-hmm. All right, now, so at this point, it's sort of a side issue, but maybe not. What do you think of all those errors in that draft of the draft that the AP put out?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert in it. I defer to Ralph on that. He has far more experience in that. But like I said, for me, it's not even a big deal, even if that document is true, because it's not raising a red flag in any way. Like I said, as long as there's IAEA monitors in there, that's not a problem, and it's inconceivable that there won't be. So,
right. Gotcha.
And I think that's the latest release from the administration also mentions that there will be IAEA inspectors, and yes, the Iranians might be involved in the process, but yeah. So, and I had a piece out last week about why this might be, and related to the errors that happened in Syria. So that may be why the Iranians had a case for doing it this way.
Yeah, go ahead and tell that story real quick if you could.
Yeah, so there was reports mentioned by Peter Jenkins, who's a former UK ambassador to the IAEA. His contacts informed him that there was improper process during the Syria investigation at Al-Kibar, where one of the lead inspectors took a swipe and then put, at an improper place, and then put it in his pocket instead of, putting it in this clean baggie. So, and that was the only swipe apparently that came back with signatures of man-made uranium. There was also 3 other swipes taken, and they did not register this man-made uranium. So the only uranium-containing sample was the one that was improperly handled.
All right, hold it right there. We'll be right back, everybody, with Dr. Yousaf Butt, nuclear physicist, on the Iran talks and deal and all that, the propaganda. Hey, all, Scott here for Samurai Tech Academy at MasterSamuraiTech.com. Modern appliance repair requires true technicians who can troubleshoot their high-tech electronics. If you're young and looking to make some real money, or you've been at it a while and just need to keep your skills up to date, Samurai Tech Academy teaches it all. And they'll also show you the business, how to own and run your own. Take a free sample course to see how easily you can learn appliance repair from MasterSamuraiTech.com. Use coupon code Scott Horton for 10% off any course or set of courses at MasterSamuraiTech.com. All right, y'all, welcome back. I am talking with Dr. Yousaf Butt, nuclear physicist from the British American Security Information Council and director at the Cultural Intelligence Institute. And we were talking about the propaganda war against the Iran deal. Pretty sure they're going to never run out of these stories about, just all you got to do, take a sentence out of context, say it means another thing, dominate the news cycle for a week with breathless accusations, and then ultimately the truth doesn't matter at all. The narrative carries the day. That's basically the uphill battle we're trying to resist here. And, the funny thing about it is it has us on the same side as the president, so it's not exactly, destined to be a losing battle. Even though the other party controls the Congress, it seems like he probably has the votes to get this deal done. But now, the narrative is working on people. I mean, people think that this is a deal to give them nuclear weapons. I know that Obama's a lousy president. I can't believe he's just giving the Iranians nuclear weapons like this. I mean, people, they don't know. They just try to regurgitate as best they can, what they thought they heard. And, so I was wondering if we could talk a little bit about, what the deal actually says about the centrifuges and the reactors. And, I guess really I'm most interested in the two reactors, Arak, that's A-R-A-K, Arak and Bushehr, and what you know about them, how they work, and what the deal says about how they will be made to work in the future, and what that means for possible production of weapons-grade plutonium as waste at those reactors. Could you explain that part of it to us?
Sure. The Arak one, A-R-A-K, is the one of interest for plutonium production. And what the deal says, and currently it could yield a lot of plutonium if it's separated out, if there's a reprocessing plant to separate out the plutonium. The deal would modify the core of that reactor to make it so that it produces a lot less plutonium. So we definitely want something like that. If you're interested in Iran not having even the possibility of weaponizing the future, you should back the deal, because it cuts off that path enormously. Not that Iran seems to be jumping at any opportunity to make a bomb, because even our U.S. national, the director of national intelligence weighed in earlier and said he has a high level of confidence that Iran is not currently weaponizing, and is, whatever research and experiments that we're doing were shut down in 2003. So, but coming back to your point, Scott, about the news cycle, et cetera, it's funny. David Sanger had a couple of pieces out just over the weekend, and there's serious flaws in them. For instance, the one on Parchin, he mentions categorically that the IAEA went there once, but in fact they went there twice already in 2005, in January and November. So I had written in, and they have still not corrected it. I'm not sure why they're persisting with this, but it's these kind of small errors that keep adding up and add to suspicion over Iran's intentions. And there's a report out today.
Especially the New York Times, the newspaper of record. And, of course, regular listeners to this show know for years we've covered David Sanger and his errors. For 4 or 5 or more years straight in a row, he consistently referred, just offhand without ever proving it, he would just refer to Iran's illicit nuclear weapons program and just assert its existence for, and the rest of, every other town newspaper basically follows the lead of the New York Times on issues like that. And he's made himself very clear in his various interviews with Charlie Rose and that kind of thing where he stands on all this. Well, I think they probably have a secret parallel program somewhere in this kind of thing. So in other words, he's a complete kook fit for the basement of AEI or the Center for Security Policy or something.
Yeah, but, and it's not even just errors in reporting. It's the choice of what you choose to report on and what the editors let pass worth publishing. For instance, his latest piece is something completely well known that, yes, there's a sunset clause in the deal that, 10, 15 years from now, the restrictions begin to be cut off and Iran goes back into a normal monitoring like a NPT state with the additional protocol, which is fine. I mean, that's better than where we are right now. So he has this big fear-mongering article out saying, oh, well, there's all these concerns that in 10, 15 years from now that Iran will be able to weaponize. Well, I mean, that's not news. Anybody who's following the Iran deal knows exactly what it is, and then that these restrictions come off in 10 or 15 years. So I don't even know why the New York Times published that. It's just rehashing old news that's been known for months. And just trying to come at this critical time and just, highlight these fears for no reason.
Yeah. Well, and of course, nowhere in there does it say, yeah, truth be told, they mastered the fuel cycle 10 years ago, and they could have made nukes this whole time. They could have been bluffing when they were enriching up to 20% and then gone ahead and raced for 90% and try to make a Hiroshima bomb gun-type nuke out of it real quick. But then, no, they didn't. You don't want to have to explain that.
Sure, and if you're afraid that Iran might do that in 10 or 15 years, certainly you should be afraid that they might do that right away, which is what, which is a possibility.
Right.
If the deal is not done.
Yeah, so, you scientists in your logical games trying to trick me.
So, so we have our Judy Millers at the New York Times these days, too.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's been consistently horrible. And it's actually a fun game if you go back and look through his archives. Wherever it's Broad and Sanger, it's always worse. But if they ever team him up with Mazzetti, then he'll be forced to admit that, well, they are under the NPT. And I don't know whether there's really a causation of that correlation. That's just the way it seems to me. Like, well, they are an NPT member. But you're right. I mean, the way they categorize, like, once the deal is over, then they'll be free to make a nuke. Well, they're not free to make a nuke now in the sense that they could withdraw from the treaty. But as long as they're within the treaty, they're not free to. They promised not to.
And there'll be IAEA monitoring and, the additional protocol. And if you're afraid they're going to do it in 10 or 15 years, you should certainly be afraid they'll do it tomorrow, which is
right.
Which is
and as you say, the additional protocol is indefinite. And that's really something, right? It sounds like some boring old international legal term, but what all does the additional protocol mean?
Yeah, I mean, basically, it includes more facilities where if the IAEA suspect that they can have easier access, they don't have to be subject to any stalling by the Iranians. They can gain easier access to any additional facilities or mines or whatnot that has anything to do with the nuclear fuel cycle. So it just gives them basically more intrusive. It gives the IAEA more intrusive inspection rights in a given country.
Mm-hmm. All right, now, how, last question here real quick, music's playing. How hilarious is it going to be when they find no trace of any explosives testing chamber at Parchin anywhere?
Well, the interesting thing is there's a lot of discussion over that. Cheryl Rofer had an article out in that saying, well, if they don't find it, either there was never anything there or that they managed to hide it. Well, if that's the case, why bother going? It's like damned if they do and damned if they don't. So it's kind of pointless.
The best excuses for war are never falsifiable.
Right.
You got to make sure that you have your escape hatch built in.
Robert Kelly has a good piece in Low Blog saying, it's not so much the sampling, it's the addition, the structure of the building and what's inside it that the inspectors might find, which might be of interest. So, I'd definitely go and listen to what Kelly is saying, given his background and experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And anybody can find that stuff at cipri.org and at lowblog.com as well. All right, well, listen, thanks very much for coming back on the show. Keep writing about this. We need you out there.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Sure, appreciate it. That's Dr. Yousaf Butt, everybody. He is at the Huffington Post with this one, Why the IAEA Would Yield to Iran on Inspecting the Parchin Weapons Site. And also, he's known for his angry letters to the editor of the New York Times. And we'll be right back in just a sec. Hey, y'all, Scott Horton here. Are you a libertarian and or peacenik? Live in North America? If you want, you could hire me to come and give a speech to your group. I'm good on the terror war and intervention, civil liberties stuff, blaming Woodrow Wilson for everything bad in the world, Iran, central banking, political realignment, and, well, you know, everything. I can teach markets to liberals and peace to the right. Just watch me. Check out scotthorton.org/speeches for some examples and email me, scott@scotthorton.org for more information. See you there. Hey, y'all, Scott Horton here. It's always safe to say that one should keep at least some of your savings in precious metals as a hedge against inflation. And if this economy ever does heat back up and the banks start expanding credit, rising prices could make metals a very profitable bet. Since 1977, Robertson Roberts Brokerage Inc. has been helping people buy and sell gold, silver, platinum, and palladium, and they do it well. They're fast, reliable, and trusted for more than 35 years. And they take Bitcoin. Call Robertson Roberts at 1-800-874-9760 or stop by rrbi.co. You hate government, one of them libertarian types, or maybe you just can't stand the president, gun grabbers, or warmongers. Me too. That's why I invented LibertyStickers.com. Well, Rick owns it now, and I didn't make up all of them, but still, if you're driving around and want to tell everyone else how wrong their politics are, there's only one place to go. LibertyStickers.com has got your bumper covered. Left, right, libertarian, empire, police, state, founders quote, central banking. Yes, bumper stickers about central banking. Lots of them. And, well, everything that matters. LibertyStickers.com. Everyone else's stickers suck.